The markets, gentlemen, never change. The faces may change, the names may change, the machines may quicken the pace, but the game is as old as speculation itself, and the lessons are the same as they were when I first walked into a bucket shop with a pocket full of small change and the whole world ahead of me. There is one rule, just one, that 99 out of 100 men can't keep to, though they swear by it, though they write it on their cuffs, though they tattoo it on their brains. Sit tight. Do you hear me? Sit tight. Not buy, not sell, not rush in with the crowd, but sit. To wait when the waiting is hardest. To hold when the whole market seems to beckon you to take your profits. To let the tide carry you rather than splashing around in the shallows. That is the rule, and it is the one thing most cannot do. I have seen it again and again. A man spots a good position. He is right. Mind you, he is right. He buys when the tape tells him the price is moving in his favor. He watches the advance. He feels that warm glow in his chest, the intoxicating certainty that he is in step with the great market current. And then, just as the move begins to widen, just as the profit begins to swell, what does he do? He nibbles, he takes his little bite, he sells too soon. He cashes out for the quick 100 when the 1,000 was waiting just around the corner. Why? Because he cannot sit. Because the hardest work in speculation is no work at all. Tell me, haven't you felt it? Haven't you taken your profit too soon, only to see the stock run without you, mocking you with every extra point? Now, I didn't learn this rule in a day, nor did I keep it the first 100 times I heard it. I was as guilty as any man of snatching at a profit, as though the market owed me a living and might renege if I left it in too long. When I was a boy, playing in the bucket shops, I'd get a few points ahead and I'd rush to the cashier. My heart would beat like a drum, thinking the money might vanish if I waited another minute. And what did I learn? That my winnings were crumbs. Crumbs swept from a banquet table that others were feasting at. The real money was in the big swing, and the big swing never reveals itself to the nervous man. Do you know what separates the gambler from the operator? It isn't brains. Plenty of clever men go broke in Wall Street. It isn't information, though the newspapers would have you believe the whole business rests on secret tips and whispered words. No, it's patience. Patience, coupled with judgment, but above all patience. The gambler is forever dipping in and out, forever chasing his own tail. The operator sees the general trend, puts his line out, and then waits. The waiting is the hardest thing, but it is the only thing. Have you the stomach for it? Or will you bolt at the first gust of wind? I remember one campaign in Union Pacific. The tape was strong, the buying was real, and everything told me the stock was headed higher. I took my line, and then came the idle days, those tedious sessions where the price inches sideways, the kind of days that break a man quicker than a crash. I could feel the itch in my fingers. Every instinct screamed to take my points and be glad. But I sat. I forced myself to sit. And when the move came, when the price lifted as though a hidden spring had been released, I wrote it. That one move was worth a dozen petty scalps, and I thought to myself, this is the whole story. The sitting, not the thinking. How many men do you suppose could have sat as I did? And yet, even after learning the lesson, even after burning it into my flesh with the hot iron of experience, I still broke the rule now and again. I remember campaigns where I knew better, where everything in me whispered, stay, sit, be patient, and I still grabbed at a profit. That's the devil of it. The rule is simple, so simple a child could repeat it. But the market works on the human heart, and the human heart rebels against simplicity. Why do you suppose most men fail? Because they cannot conquer themselves. They cannot sit when the time calls for sitting. Look about you in the market today. The same spectacle unfolds. A bull move begins. Stocks rise. The crowd rushes in. The same crowd rushes out with the first reaction. The tape shakes them off, and they are gone before the true advance begins. Then, when the leaders of the move are doubling, trebling, stretching to the skies, those poor fellows stand outside, counting their missed fortune, swearing they will not make the same mistake again. But they do. They always do. Haven't you? Haven't you felt that sting of watching from the sidelines, knowing you had the right horse and leapt off just before the race began. I will tell you this, the stock market is never wrong. Opinions are wrong, men are wrong, but the market tells its own truth. When you have aligned yourself with that truth, when your position is right and the trend is with you, why rush to close it? Why scramble for pennies when the dollars are waiting? Because you fear loss. That is the true enemy, fear. Fear of giving back what you have already taken, fear of the unknown. But fear has no place in speculation. The only fear that matters is the fear of being wrong, and once you know you are right, your only job is to hold. Do you see? Can you admit that fear has shaken you from a winning place more times than a genuine reversal ever has? Now, the crowd thinks of trading as constant action. They want excitement, movement, the thrill of doing. They cannot abide the boredom of waiting, and so they lose. The operator thinks of trading as hours of waiting, punctuated by moments of action. The money is made in the waiting. I would sometimes sit for weeks without lifting a finger, not because I had no opinion, but because the market had not yet confirmed it. That waiting was harder than any number of frantic trades. Men laughed at me. They said I was frozen, that I had lost my nerve. And then, when the time came, I acted, and they saw I had merely been reserving my strength. Tell me, can you bear to wait while others jeer, while the tape drifts, while opportunity seems to mock you? Even in a campaign well underway, the sitting remains supreme. The operator who can pyramid properly, who can add to a position as the trend proves itself, is rare. Rarer still is the operator who can hold the pyramid through reactions, through the churning back and forth that shakes out 99% of the crowd. But it is there that the fortunes are built. I knew men who made a single campaign last them a lifetime because they had the nerve to sit tight. Could you do the same? And mark me, this rule is not confined to the bull side. In bear markets the same law applies. I have seen men sell short correctly, seen them catch the turn, only to buy in with the first rally. They take their quick gain and congratulate themselves, while the market crumbles point by point, day by day, offering fortunes to the man with the courage to hold his short line. Why do they not hold? Because they are human. Because they cannot sit. The rule is easy to write, easy to say. Cut your losses, let your profits run. Every child of Wall Street mouths it as though it were a nursery rhyme. But to obey it, truly to obey it, that is another matter. The losses, yes, those most men can cut, though many linger in hope until ruin overtakes them. But the profits? The profits! They cannot let them run. They snatch at them, they kill them in their cradle, they settle for trifles while the market would have made them kings. Do you not feel the irony of it? That men can accept ruin easier than riches. I tell you again, the big money is not in the buying and selling, it is in the waiting. I made my greatest fortunes by sitting tight, not by thinking, not by inventing, but by holding. And yet, for all my preaching, I know full well that most of you listening will not do it. You will nod, you will agree, you will swear you have learned the lesson, and tomorrow you will break it. You will sell too soon, you will bolt too quickly, you will forget the rule as surely as a drunkard forgets his vow. Why? Because the market preys on weakness, and weakness is in human nature. Have you the strength to conquer it? Or will you be as the 99, doomed to forever watch the 1% walk away with the real winnings? The true work of the trader, the only real duty once his line is cast, is not to trade, but to sit and to watch. That is a lesson men fight against with every fiber of their being, because their nature cries out for activity, for motion, for the false satisfaction of doing something. They cannot believe that the richest labor in speculation lies in silence, in the stillness of hands and the sharpness of eyes. They believe money is earned by pulling the trigger, by plunging in and out, by taking 100 little turns. But the market laughs at such men. It takes their commissions, their energy, and their very nerves, and gives them back nothing but crumbs. Do you know how hard it is to sit in your chair and do nothing when the whole world around you is bustling, shouting, buying, selling, celebrating their little turns? Have you ever felt the gnawing restlessness that comes when your account sits idle and the tape marches without you, That restlessness is the undoing of 99 out of 100. I learned this truth the hard way. As a boy in the bucket shops, I made money not because I was cleverer than the other patrons, but because I watched. I studied the tape with the hunger of a starving man. I saw patterns repeat. I saw the play of strength and weakness, and I noticed what others ignored because they were too busy betting. Yet even I, with those early lessons, could not resist the itch to trade every day. I believed the market owed me a living wage, that every tick was an opportunity, that to sit idle was to lose ground, and so I traded ceaselessly, and though I won often, my winnings vanished because I was forever feeding the habit of action. Does this sound familiar to you? Have you too mistaken motion for profit, the mere act of doing for the art of winning? The great campaigns that make a fortune do not come every day, nor every week. They are rare, like comets streaking through the night sky. A man may sit for weeks, even months, before the right condition presents itself. The crowd will not wait. They hunger for action. They chase shadows. They play every flutter. They scatter their powder before the real battle begins. When at last the market makes its true move, they are exhausted, their capital wasted on trifles, their nerve frayed. But the man who sat, who did nothing but watch and wait, is fresh, strong, and ready. He has his line prepared, his powder dry, his will unbroken. That man wins not because he was cleverer, but because he endured the boredom the others could not. Tell me, can you endure it? Can you sit through the desert waiting for the rain? Most men cannot. They are slaves to activity. They believe money is made by constant participation. They tell themselves that each day must yield a profit or it is wasted. They cannot bear the thought of markets moving without their hand upon them. And so they nibble here, they dabble there. They cut a little profit. They take a little loss. They move in and out, piling up commissions for the broker and fatigue for themselves. At the end of a month, what do they have to show? A pittance, perhaps. More often a loss. Meanwhile, the man who waited for his setup, who held back his fire, who only acted when the market itself cried out to be acted upon. He has preserved his strength for the decisive moment. Haven't you known this to be true, when you look back over your own record, and see that the bulk of your gains came not from dozens of little trades, but from one or two great positions that you had the sense, or the luck, to hold? Waiting is harder than acting. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. The man who can stand idle while others are in motion needs more nerve than the boldest plunger. For the plunger, at least, has the comfort of action. He feels he is doing something, even when he is losing. The sitter has nothing but the silence of his own thoughts. He must master himself, choke down the urge to jump, to grab, to participate, and the market tests him cruelly. It will tempt him with little rallies, frighten him with little breaks, tease him with feints and false starts. It whispers, "Here is your chance! Act now," and then punishes him if he does. The only defense is patience. The only strength is discipline. The true work of the trader is not in the trade itself, but in the 1,000 trades he refuses to make. Can you refuse them, or will you reach for every baited hook and wonder later why you are bleeding? I recall times when I sat for weeks, doing nothing. The brokers thought me lazy, thought me timid, thought I had lost my touch. They laughed at me. They called me frozen. And then, when the move I had awaited came, when the market turned as I knew it must, I moved with speed and size, and I reaped where they had sown only losses. It was not brilliance. It was not even courage. It was patience. The patience to wait until the market told me I was right. The market is never wrong. It will speak in its own time. But most men cannot wait for its voice. They listen instead to their own chatter, to the chatter of others, to rumors, to tips. And so they lose. Haven't you caught yourself jumping at shadows, unable to wait for the clear signal, desperate to trade simply because you felt you must? The market pays those who can sit because the big movements, the real campaigns, take time to develop. A stock may spend days fooling around in a narrow range before it begins its climb. Then, once it starts, it will run for weeks or months. The fortune lies not in catching every little tick of that run, but in holding through the whole procession. Yet what do most men do? They jump in, they grab a point, they jump out. The stock rests, they lose patience, they chase something else. Then the stock takes off without them, and they are left behind. If only they had sat through the dull days, if only they had endured the waiting, they would be aboard for the real move. But they cannot. They have no tolerance for the boredom that is the price of great gains. Do you? To watch the market, truly to watch it, is not passive. It is a labor in itself. It is like a general studying the enemy's camp, reading every sign, waiting for the right moment to strike. The battle is not won by constant skirmishing, but by the one decisive engagement at the right time. The trader must sit, must study, must let the market unfold its tale without rushing to write the ending himself. That is the work. But men despise such work because it feels like nothing. They want to fight every day, to show their courage, to prove their mettle. The tape punishes them for it. The market cares nothing for their pride, only for their patience. There is an old saying that bears repeating: never confuse activity with accomplishment. In speculation, the man who trades least often, but at the right time, is the man who profits. The one who trades most often, but without discipline, is the man who pays for the others. Brokers love the restless trader, for he fills their coffers. The market feeds on him, for he provides the liquidity and the losses. But the market rewards the sitter, the one who does the hard work of restraint, and yet the sitter is rare. Will you be one of the rare few? Or will you, like the 99, let your nerves betray you into endless, meaningless activity? One campaign well held is worth 100 petty scalps, and I say that not as theory but as a fact carved deep into my own experience and the history of every trader who ever amounted to anything on Wall Street. Men who chase the small turns, who dart in and out for a point here and there, who scalp the market daily with all the fever of a card sharp, may think themselves clever, but at the end of the season, what do they hold in their hands? Nothing but the remnants of nerves and the crumbs of fortune. Meanwhile, the man who waits, who places his line in the water when the tide is right, and then has the strength to hold it through every ebby and flow, that man walks away with more in one campaign than the other collects in years of scratching. Have you ever counted the time, the energy, the commissions, the mistakes that come from constant trading, and compared it with the simplicity of holding one great position? I have seen both types of men, and I have been both myself. In the early days, I could not resist the siren call of the tape. Every flutter seemed an invitation. Every little rally or reaction felt like opportunity. I took my scalps with pride, boasting of a dozen winning trades in a week, thinking that frequency meant mastery. And then came the reckoning. For while I was content with my dozen wins, each small and quickly taken, the real operator, the one who had picked his campaign stock and held it, was amassing a fortune. He may not have traded once in the same week I made a dozen turns, but his single position grew larger than all my busy winnings combined. The difference was staggering. Tell me, have you not felt that bitter recognition, that while you danced for pennies, another man was sitting for pounds? The truth is simple but cruel. The market rewards vision and patience, not hustle. The scalper is forever feeding on scraps, because he cannot bear to sit through a reaction. The campaigner sees the greater tide. He knows that all great movements unfold in waves, and he does not flinch when the tide draws back a little, because he trusts the sea will return stronger. The scalper panics at the ebb, sells out, takes his little profit, and misses the flood. How many times have you sold a stock on a dip, only to see it surge higher once you were out? How many fortunes have slipped past your grasp because you could not endure the momentary setback? When I made my great money, it was never from scalping. The millions came from campaigns. Big, sweeping movements in which I was right, in which the tide carried me, and in which I held on for the whole ride. I did not touch the stock every day. I did not fuss over each fluctuation. I placed my bet when the odds were clear, and then I sat tight. It took nerve, yes, but more than nerve it took restraint, because the temptation to scalp a little here, to lock in a bit of profit there, is constant. The ticker never ceases to tempt you, but one campaign, held to its rightful conclusion, outweighed all those temptations. And understand this: campaigns are not gifts, They are earned. They demand preparation, study, observation. You must know your stock, know the general market, know the psychology of the crowd. You must test the waters. You must see the tape confirm your judgment. But once the campaign is chosen, once the evidence mounts in your favor, the only true work left is to hold. That holding is the campaign. It is not glamorous. It is not filled with the rush of constant trades. It is waiting, enduring, adding when the market proves you right, and above all refusing to be shaken out by reactions. Can you bear to do that? Or are you like most men, content to scalp and call it trading, when in truth you are avoiding the hard discipline of a real campaign? The scalper's life is a treadmill. He runs fast, he sweats, he grows weary, but he goes nowhere. Every day is another battle, another chase for crumbs. He cannot build wealth this way. The campaigner builds steadily, like a fortress. One strong campaign can change a man's fortune. One well-chosen, well-held position can do more than years of frantic scalping. That is the secret, and yet it is the secret no one wants to believe. Why? Because it demands patience. Because it denies the excitement that most men come to the market for. They want the thrill of action. They want to trade every hour, every day. They crave the sensation more than the result, and so they scalp, and so they lose. Isn't that the same reason so many gamblers keep playing after their winnings are lost? Because they crave the play more than the profit. I remember a time when I watched a stock climb point by point for weeks. A friend of mine, an eager trader, kept scalping it. He bought, took a point, sold. He repeated the game, proud of his cleverness. He showed me his slips, counted his gains, told me I was a fool for not doing the same. I sat with my line silent, enduring the dull days and the reactions. By the end of the campaign, he had made 10 points. Impressive, he thought. My position had made 50. The difference was that he had worked harder, risked more, and earned less, while I had simply held on to what the market itself was giving. Who was the fool, I ask you? The market punishes the restless and it rewards the steadfast. But steadfastness is rare because it is hard. It is easier to scalp than to sit. It is easier to take a quick profit than to let it grow. It is easier to flee at the first setback than to trust the trend. Men choose the easy path, and they pay for it dearly. The campaigner chooses the hard path, and in the end he reaps the easy fortune. Does this not mirror all of life, where the true prizes go to those who endure what others cannot? One campaign well held can build a lifetime's fortune. Think of the Great Bear campaigns, where the market crumbled for months. Think of the bull runs, when stocks soared unbroken for seasons. Men who held through those times made fortunes they could never have dreamed of. Those who scalped through them walked away with crumbs. The law does not change. It never changes. Campaigns are the stuff of wealth. Scalps are the stuff of poverty. Which will you choose? The temptation always is to believe you are smarter than the market, that you can outgas every turn, that you can scalp your way to greatness. That temptation ruins men. The truth is simpler. Align yourself with the great move, and then hold it. Do not be shaken, do not be tempted, do not be seduced by the noise of the tape. Hold your campaign, and it will do more for you than 100 scalps. And yet, knowing this, most men will still scalp. They cannot help themselves. They will take the petty gains, they will lose the great ones, and they will wonder why fortune never smiles upon them. Have you not done the same, selling too soon, chasing too often, and later realizing that one campaign would have repaid all your small labors tenfold? The market pays the patient man, not the busy one. That truth is older than any ticker, older than any exchange, and it has been proved in the rise and fall of every generation of traders who have tried their luck in speculation. Yet it is the truth that most men cannot bring themselves to believe. They are certain that the market rewards action, constant turning, the visible signs of industry. They measure their worth by the number of trades they make, by the bustle of their activity, as though the market were an employer paying wages by the hour. But the market is no such master. It pays in silence, and it pays in its own time, and it pays only those who have the courage to wait. Do you think you can stand still while others dash past you, boasting of their busy trading, and still keep faith that your patience will outlast their frenzy. I was young when I first discovered the tape could be read like a book, and in that discovery I mistook quickness for wisdom. I was quick with figures, quick to see patterns, quick to pounce on movements before the crowd did. That quickness made me money in the bucket shops, where every tick was exaggerated, and where small sums could grow with speed. But what worked in the bucket shops did not work on the exchange. There, the market moved with weight, with momentum, with power greater than any scalper's cleverness. My quickness betrayed me. I was too eager, too restless, too busy. I forgot that the market does not care for cleverness. It only respects patience. Have you ever felt that same mistake in yourself? Believing that activity equaled success, only to learn that your account told a different story. The patient man knows that the market moves in cycles. He knows that prices do not leap from point to point without cause. He knows that true movements take time to unfold, and that his only duty is to wait for the unfolding. When he sees a trend, he aligns himself with it, and then does the hardest work of all, nothing. He sits through the dull days, he sits through the reactions, he sits while the busy men exhaust themselves chasing every flutter. He waits and he watches and he endures, and in the end he is paid. The busy man, meanwhile, cannot endure. He must always be doing. He sees every pause as a chance to tinker, every lull as wasted time. He jumps in, jumps out, and in the end he is worn out. Which man would you rather be? The one who ends the campaign with a fortune, or the one who ends it with blisters on his hands and nothing to show? The brokers, of course, love the busy man. He pays their commissions, he keeps their business lively, he churns his account until it runs dry. They do not care whether he wins or loses, only that he trades often. But the market does not reward such men. The market rewards the man who sits quietly in the corner, waiting for his chance. I have known operators who made no more than 3 or 4 trades in a year, but each trade was a campaign, and each campaign was a fortune. I have also known men who made 3 or 4 trades before lunch every day, all year long, and those men ended with nothing but debts and regrets. Tell me, do you still believe the market pays the busy man? Or can you see now that all his activity is nothing but a costly performance? Patience is not glamorous. It is not exciting. There is no applause for the man who sits tight while others clamor. He looks idle, even timid, while the rest of the floor bustles with energy. He must endure their laughter, their jests, their boasts. But when the tape finally moves, when the market shows its hand, it is the patient man who profits. The crowd never understands this. They cannot believe that inactivity could be a form of work. They cannot accept that waiting is harder than trading. They do not see that patience is the rarest form of courage. Have you the courage to wait? Have you the strength to do nothing while the noise of the market tempts you at every turn? Consider how most fortunes in Wall Street have been made. It was not by scalping, not by incessant trading, not by feverish activity. It was by sitting on the right side of a great move and letting it carry the operator to riches. The patient man who could ride out the dull days, who could endure the drawdowns, who could hold his line through the chatter, always emerged with more than the restless speculator. The record of the market makes this plain. Yet generation after generation, new traders arrive, convinced they will outsmart the rule, convinced that constant effort will yield them success. And generation after generation they are broken. Doesn't that remind you of something deeper in human nature? The endless desire for quick results, for immediate satisfaction, even when the world has already shown that only those who wait are rewarded. I can recall one campaign in which I sat on a stock for months. The price drifted. The tape gave nothing but tedium. The brokers muttered that I had lost my nerve. I did nothing. My friends made dozens of trades in the same span, boasting of their gains. I listened. I nodded. I kept my seat. Then, at last, the stock began to move. The current was unmistakable. The buying was real. The trend confirmed itself day by day. I held my line. While my friends were scrambling in and out, taking their quick profits, I simply stayed. When the campaign was over, I had more than all of them combined. They had been busy. I had been patient. Who do you think the market paid? The market is designed to test patience. It shakes you with reactions, it teases you with false starts, it frustrates you with idleness. The busy man cannot survive such tests. He sees every shake as a reversal, every pause as a lost opportunity. He is lured into action, and the market devours him. The patient man sees the same tests and endures them. He knows they are the price of admission to the big swing. He knows that the market does not move in a straight line. He knows that the real profits lie beyond the churning. That is why patience pays and business does not. Have you noticed that your greatest losses came not from waiting, but from acting when you should have done nothing at all? The truth is that speculation is a waiting game. The greatest operators are remembered not for their activity, but for their campaigns. They had the nerve to wait for the right setup, the courage to hold through the reactions, and the discipline to do nothing when there was nothing to be done. The market paid them for their patience, not for their business. The records are there, plain as day, for anyone willing to read them. And yet, in every age, the crowd ignores the lesson. They cannot sit still. They cannot bear the weight of patience. They rush to be busy, and they rush to their ruin. Would you rather be part of the crowd, or would you rather be part of the rare few who let patience write their fortune? Fear makes men cut winners and keep losers, and if there is one great contradiction in all of speculation, it is this: